here is just a mere formality. There's no need to introduce tonight's speaker, but I just wanted to say, look up, what does the word legend mean? You say legend means someone that's memorable, and it's like art history. So we have here Rabbi Kotler. He made history. I went to Mishmerish Gavoya, and he impacted my life and thousands of others, and it's tremendous plus that he's here tonight. Rabbi Kotler.
Thank you. First of all, this place rocks. It's really beautiful to see, and it's such a great crowd sitting and learning. And I'm really sorry to interrupt the learning. Rabbi Hirth asked me to come, and he gave me a list of 5 questions. He said, don't speak, just answer the Q&A. So there are 2 types of Q&A. There are Q&As where the rabbi makes up fake questions and they send it in. And then there's real Q&A where people actually submitted the questions. I have no clue, because I don't know what this place is. I just know it's near Lakewood, it's somewhere on Quincy Road. It's dark outside, I have no idea where I am. But I see nice, good, young, frum Jewish men. So I'm going to presume that the questions are honest and authentic, but I have no context to the questions. So I'm going to try to answer them. I'll read them. I'll probably only get through the first question because I was told that Myra is at 9:45, which gives me about 9 minutes.
What's that? Continue further.
Yeah, so I don't want to be rude, and I hate to.
Everyone enjoys it.
Yeah, okay. So I'm going to dive right in. The first question somebody sent in was, what did we do about the elections? What does this mean for Lakewood? So I don't know who asked that question, but I have no context. Are we talking about the elections in Russia? Are we talking about the elections in Israel? Are we talking about Cheryl Abishnal? Are you talking about Mamdani? So whoever asked the question, I need a little bit of context to be able to answer it. Because I have no idea. Sorry?
For Lakewood.
For Lakewood. What is the question?
For New Jersey.
So what is the question?
Cheryl, Mamdani, and Arishna.
So what is the question? There were elections. Like, I said, what does this mean for Lakewood? I don't understand the question. You have a governor. You had one governor. You have another governor. I mean, what's the difference? It doesn't affect your life really. And I think what happened is, if you understand what happens in the world, this is philosophical, so forgive me, but it's always on my mind. Judaism, at its heart, believes the struggle of man is internal in your own neshama, in your own soul. As Solzhenitsyn wrote, the greatest evil is that which is within yourself. So we believe very strongly that the arena of struggle of man is entirely within yourself. It's not external. It's not you against the world. That's why we don't believe in the version of progressivism or tikkun olam or what all these secular people are doing and all that. The reason why people get worked up about elections are, in today's world, it's almost religious for them because they don't have that internal soul struggle. They don't believe that there's evil within them. We could talk about the French Revolution and Rousseau, why that is that way. I don't have enough time to do that. But in the real world, in the simple world, the Western world, the Gentiles around us, and the non-religious world around us do not believe that you have a Yetzer Tov and a Yetzer Hara. They don't believe that there's evil within you. And Baharaya, they believe if you feel something, that's what you should do, without getting specific as to gender and ideology and other things. If you feel some way, that is who you are and that's what you should be. They don't believe that you have a Yetzer Hara. We believe we have a Yetzer Hara. But man has a religious impulse to struggle for good. In the Western world, the Goyim around us, the Gentiles, they have externalized struggle, and they made their struggles into religious fights, which is why you cannot talk to a liberal about Trump, because they'll go crazy. You cannot talk to a MAGA guy about liberals, because they're going to go crazy. There's no it's like a religious fight. So my only point is that elections have taken on greater meaning than just who's in office. For thousands of years, there were forms of elections. Rome was of course, we know Rome was a form of a democracy. It wasn't a complete democracy. Just like today, we don't have a complete democracy. But there were always elections in the world. There were always different forms of it. And no one really got emotionally involved in it. So if you're in the Beis Medrash and you see someone getting emotionally involved in an election realize that he has externalized the struggle and he has adopted a religious approach to elections where they become meaningful to him on a spiritual way, and he's happy if his guy wins, he's sad if his guy loses. He thinks it actually makes a difference in his life. So it's bad news for you. It does not make a difference in your life who's in office. The only thing that makes a difference in your life is what's happening within your own soul, whether you're listening to your Yetzer or your Yetzer. That's the arena of struggle. And the external struggle of fighting for causes or fighting for politicians or even going online and commenting with emotion about an election, to me it's just a waste of your soul. That's not why Hashem gave you a soul. And it's utterly irrelevant. So I do not give a flip, excuse the English, about elections. I don't care if this guy won or that guy won. Now, when I was running the yeshiva, I wanted to have a relationship with whoever was in office very practically, just like I want to have a relationship with my banker, so he lends me money, and I want to have a relationship with the guy who cuts my lawn so he comes to cut my lawn. I wanted to have a relationship with the elected officials, so the things I needed. But there was absolutely no emotion involved in that. At one point, I did invite politicians to my weddings and all, and then I decided, you know what, I really don't even want them at my wedding. So they felt very close to me. I said, I don't want to invite them to my wedding. So I remember when Jim McGreevy was governor, I made a chasana, and again, there's no emotion in it. I did not invite him to, I'm still friendly with him. He's a very good guy. But I did not invite him to the wedding. And somebody said, like, why are you not inviting him? And I invited the Chief Justice of the New Jersey Supreme Court, Stuart Ratner, who's a personal friend of mine. He's a Yid, he's a traditional Yid, and he's a friend. I invited the Chief Justice. I didn't invite the governor. And I was sure if the governor finds out he wasn't invited, he'd be upset. Like he thought he was my friend. People say, why don't you invite him? I said, listen, son, I don't really care. He's in office. I have to be involved with him. But there's no emotions involved in it. And then his daughter, he did a christening for his daughter, which Christians do, and he invited me. And I wouldn't have gone anyway, so I'll sort of go. But I didn't feel any bad feeling that I'm not going. I didn't invite you to my wedding. You don't invite me to your thing. We'll do business when we have to do business, but there's no emotions in that. So I think you all should look at elections in a very business-like sense. It's business. If you need your guy in office, you vote for him. If you lose the business deal, you go on to the next deal. And it's just like real estate. If you buy a piece of real estate, you try to buy a property, you don't buy the property. Every time you pass by, you don't walk by emotions and feel bad about it. Who cares? So as an election, Cheryl won, Chidrelli didn't win. Who cares? And I don't even understand why it's a question. So I'm willing to take a follow-up, but I'm also willing to move on to the next question. Rabbi Herth, I'm still allowed here?
We can get you back to the last three.
Yeah. Now, we could go on this, because really the philosophical roots of it, if I don't know if I'm allowed to recommend the book. Am I allowed to recommend the book here? But Dominic Green's The Religious Revolution will help you understand the secular world around us and help you understand what's happening to us from Yidden who live in a world that's affected by the secular world. It's the single best book. It's a hard read. It will help you understand what happened, why people are so involved in politics. Okay, we can move on. We're good? Yeah? You want to say something?
What would you say to those that are scared about running in office?
I think that the heart and soul of secular Judaism is that we are accepted like the Gentiles. This week's parsha says, Ephraim says to Avraham Avinu, I realize Avraham Avinu says, Ger v'toishav, I'm a Ger v'toishav, and Ephraim realizes that Avraham Avinu is not just another person. He responds, you're not a Ger v'toishav, but Nesiv Elokim atah b'secheinu. You're Nesiv Elokim among us. And the Medrash Rabbah says that Ephraim was inviting Avraham Avinu. Why be a Ger v'toishav? You're a very prominent person. You could be a Nesiv, you could be a prince, and Elokim, you could be a God among us. You know the Medrash Rabbi Herth? You know the Medrash Pashto Midrash. Avraham Avinu says, I don't want to take away from the Malchus of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What's it for me to be a prince? HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the prince. I don't have to be a prince. I have to be a king. What's wrong with the existing God we have? We have one God. I don't want to take away. He declined Ephraim's offer. With Ephraim's offer, of course, came what we call in Arabic the bakshish for a free burial plot. But Ephraim was making an offer, you could be a god among us. Secular Judaism believes that we are integrated and assimilated in secular society and accepted. And if one were to say that there's a temple for the religion of secularism, it's the United States, where Jews are most accepted. I was just in Kyrgyzstan. Don't ask me why, but Jews are not accepted in Kyrgyzstan. It's a Muslim country. We're accepted, but on a second-rate basis. We're not truly equal. I was just in Russia. Jews are not accepted in Russia on the same level. The temple, let's call it the Yerushalayim of secular Judaism, is America, and the Kodesh Kodashim is New York City, where Jews, it's a Jewish city, it was always a Jewish city at all. And that's Avodah Zarah. It's Avodah Zarah to believe we're just like the Goyim. We're just part of it. So Hashem gave us a lot of time, gave us 100 years, gave us Bloomberg, a Jewish mayor, Mr. Ed Koch, a Jewish mayor, Loyaleno, and the first Jewish mayor of New York was LaGuardia, right? You know, he was Italian, but he was also Jewish. His mother was Jewish. He gave us a city. Bloomberg before, but LaGuardia was before. Gave us a big Jewish city. He gave us 100 years, and to see if we use the benefits of New York, but we don't assimilate. And if you go to a Jew, where the West accepts us, Hashem says, I will remind you that you are not the Nesiv Elohim by the Goyim. You're separate. The Ger V'Taisha, you keep apart. You're not part of it. So Mamdani is our friendly reminder of that. And it's a tremendous gift from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Unfortunately, we need the gift. We shouldn't need such gifts, but we need the gifts. Hashem sent us the gift. And if we don't take the message, He'll send us some more gifts so we eventually get that message. So I'm personally grateful to Mamdani for reminding us that of who we are, who he is, and that we're not among them. I'd rather not have to be reminded, but unfortunately I have to. All right, we go on, rabbis. I'm over time at 9:47. Good. You can throw me at it any time. The second question was, how did I get into Kirov? So I know that's worded in a yeshivish way of how did I get into Kirov, but you could say, how did I develop a sensibility and a sense that there are Jews who are not as lucky as I am to have grown up. I got lucky that I was born into a frum house. Jews who were not as lucky to grow up in a frum house, and to realize how easy it is for me to make an impact on them. I could just reach out, invite them for Shabbos. I don't have to be a rocket scientist. I don't even have to know Ashkaf. I could just invite them for Shabbos. I could learn with them. I could talk to them. And how did I develop that sensibility? So I grew up in a house that was a Kiruv house. The Kiruv house was run by Yid Reb Shnei Kotler, that's my mother. There were always secular Jews in the house. June Feldman and her kids, her sons run car dealerships on Route 88. She was not religious. She was always in the house. We had many, many secular Jews coming in and out of the house all the time. And my parents were always makar of them and always warm to them and always friendly to them and always tried to have a hashpah on them. So I grew up with that. I also was the beneficiary of Noach Weinberg, who spoke in Lakewood. You could go online, the Lakewood tapes. He spoke in Lakewood famously for 4 nights in 1980s. I was a young guy. I was 16, but I heard of Noach's brushes, and that resonated with me too. So I really liked that. When I was in Eretz Yisrael as a bacher, the typical thing bachrim do during Bein Hazmanim is they waste their time by going on trips. So in those days they didn't go to Europe, but they used to go around Eretz Yisrael, and today they go around the world and all. Hashem reminds them they shouldn't. Every now and then a car crash or something happens, reminded you it's not what you're on earth for, but that's another discussion. Unfortunately, very sad when that happens. But we forget the role of who we are, and we just want to go enjoying trips, and we rationalize to ourselves, as we all do, that I need a break, I'm stressed out, I got to go out, I got to go somewhere on a trip. And that happens. But Aish offered then, when I was a bacher, a 4-day seminar in Eretz Yisrael on the basics of Kiruv. It was 3 days too long. You don't need 4 days to know the basics of Kiruv. You just need about an hour at most, but I went to the 4-day seminar, I really liked it. And then they asked the guys who went, the Bachman who went, anybody wants to volunteer at Aish as a tutor. And I said, okay, I'll be happy to volunteer. I think I was the only one from the group for some reason. And I ended up tutoring a gentleman in Yitz Greenman, who went on to become an Aish guy. And when I got married, I moved to Eretz Yisrael, back to Eretz Yisrael, and I needed an apartment, so I called a friend of mine who was a rabbi at Aish, who I knew through my Yitz Greenman days, and then he asked me, I know it's a very long story, sorry to bore you guys, but he said, come teach at Aish. I said, the problem with my teaching is that, other than the Gemara that I'm learning, I really know nothing. I don't know, I mean, I sort of know Parshas Shavua, but even that I don't really know. If anybody asked me a single question, I would have no idea what to answer them. How could I teach? What am I going to do? I'm going to go teach, we were learning Bava Basra. I'm going to teach Bava Basra to secular Jews. And my friend says it's a bad idea for you to teach Bava Basra, because you're probably not going to do a very good job at it, but you'll find what to teach, come teach. So I foolishly agreed to teach for an hour a day at Aish. I was 23 years old, and I ended up teaching at Aish for about four plus years. It was very, very incredible years. I taught a lot, I learned a lot, and hence that's how I quote unquote got into Kira. Well, thank you. Now that I'm way over time, we'll do the other two questions next
What do you
time.
mean by foolishly?
Sorry?
What do you mean by foolishly?
In terms of getting into Kira?
Did you foolishly agree to take the position?
Yeah, because I didn't know anything. Like, what am I doing? Like, I'm an idiot. If I'm going to do something, I want to do a good job. I didn't know anything. I really didn't know anything. I started teaching Chumash, so I worked really hard to have material to teach. But if they would ask me something in the next parsha, I barely knew anything. So
So what did you do? How did it work out?
I worked really hard. And I just worked really hard to know as much as I could. I had a lot of times when I said, I really don't know, but I'll try to find out for you. I always encourage the guys to ask questions. I always ask questions. I didn't know the answer many times. I knew the material I was teaching, but I'd say, hey, I really don't know the answer. And then I decided I would teach Ramchal. I'd never learned Ramchal before. So I learned Ramchal, and then I taught Ramchal. I ended up learning Mar Nevuchim with Leibel Lapyansky, and we learned Mar Nevuchim for about 5 years. So I learned different things, and I taught, and it worked out. I actually ended up, I knew a lot more than I thought I knew. But what I knew was really by osmosis rather than by direct knowledge. So it worked out.
What would be a summary of that 1 hour basis of care that we need instead of 4 days?
Know how empty the secular world is. Know how tragic their lives are. Never tell them how tragic their lives are. Never look down on them. Know that their souls are empty, seeking and searching. Know that they have no real meaning in life. Know that they're providing false meaning for themselves through work, through career, through social status, primarily through social status, and or money, but money is usually a way to social status. And their lives are really don't have genuine meaning, and they crave genuine meaning because the soul craves it, and you really have it. And even though you might feel you're just going along and living, even if you're a yeshiva man who has not allowed yourself to be inspired by the beauty of what we have the richest, most beautiful way of life that any human being can have. Even if you don't realize that, you're still way ahead of the game of the person who's living a life without meaning. So don't try, but if one were to try to live without Shabbos for a year, without Yontif, you say, hey, wow, this is an insane way to live. Like, I'm on 365 days a year, there's never a time off, there's never a time for family. Even the very basics, they don't even have that. So most of them are atomized, they have no relationships of meaning because they don't know what a meaningful relationship is. Their definitions of love and bonds are wrong. They come from Greek notions of romance, which are false. So they're very lonely people, they're very unhappy people. If you take a room full of 100 secular Jews, You ask them how many of them have dysfunction in their direct personal family relationships. 95 would raise their hands, but they'd be embarrassed, only 60 would raise their hands. Not that we don't have some of that, but that's, for them, that's the norm as they live atomized lives. Shkaf Rabbi, you have a beautiful Shabbos.